So good morning and welcome back to the Salonpreneur magazine at the podcast channel. This morning I am joined by Matt Adams, who is an international bodybuilder. He did our first ever Outside the Box in the magazine, which is where someone comes in from outside of our industry who has messages for us that we may be able to learn from. So you will find it in the launch edition of Salonpreneur magazine, and you'll see Matt's article is about fuel your focus, the missing link between nutrition and mindset in high performing entrepreneurs, which is what most of us are. So I'm just going to hand over to Matt for a sec so he can give us a little intro and explain who he is, what he does, and how he can help us. So welcome, Matt.
Welcome, and thank you for having me on. So thank you for that introduction. I am an international bodybuilder and just retired. I just done my last ever show this Sunday. So it's kind of a, for want of a better word, it's I'm a lot more than just an international bodybuilder.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and I guess there's a stereotype around what that might mean. I guess how am I skilled as a bodybuilder to even be able to write as an outsider from the business? So yeah, the bodybuilder title, I feel, is probably the least descriptive of me as a person, and I guess really I consider myself a journeyman through life. I'm 54 now, and I've experienced so much in life, good, bad, and I think bodybuilding has taught me a lot of things that I'm able to apply and guide people through, and we can touch on some of those things. But I think life itself, if we learn throughout our existence on this planet, that's the key for me. I've had a fruitful and extremely varied life, and that gives me the ability to help. I have been bodybuilding as a sport or a hobby for over 30 years, but initially, academically, I guess as a younger man, my interest was around animals, nature, the environment, and so I decided to go into university to do an environmental biology degree.
Oh, wow.
And then post my Bachelor of Science, I went into a master's degree, which was around behavioral science. So that was where I started off. However, leaving university, that never became something that I was able to pursue. It was just difficult to get a job, and my other skill set at the time was IT, and so I jumped straight into IT. Quite quickly became into project management, I guess. Became kind of like a senior manager, program manager, and financially I was doing significantly well, in six figures at mid-20s. I got married, had 3 children, a house, all the things that I'd ever kind of dreamed of in life, and unfortunately that didn't work out, and my marriage ended. The reason why I'm telling you some of these personal things is just so that you can relate to me as a person and some of the experiences that I've had in life, because I feel that they're, probably far more important than just bodybuilding as a sport. Whilst I was almost in the dream life, had the house, the home, the money, I wasn't fulfilled in that. It wasn't. I was just working.
So often the case, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just working to provide, to have the house, to have the car, but I wasn't enjoying life. And obviously that had a knock-on effect in my relationship at home, thus ending the marriage. And it was at that point I started to think about, what is life about? What I thought I had everything that I wanted, and that's where I started to question things. And so, at that time, bodybuilding, I guess, became the only kind of structure, the foundation
Yeah.
that I could rely on. Everything else had fell apart. And so I dived deep into bodybuilding, and that became a passion. Time progressed, and it was at that point where I started to get skills in nutrition, um, you know, exercise training, all fitness related stuff. And then I was able to start helping people that were in the gym. They'd ask me questions, I'd help them. And I'm generally the kind of person that wants to help people. I see that my bigger role in life, I'm here on this planet to help people. That's what I get the most enjoyment out of. I came to this bridge in life where I wasn't enjoying the IT. It was bringing in a lot of money, but I wasn't happy. I really enjoyed helping people, in the health and fitness um, industry. And at that point, I'd earned enough skills. uh, There was enough people with interest. I thought, why not move over into the fitness industry? So I gave up the um, management um, role and went
A
straight.
big decision, big change.
Oh, you know what, Sue? It was huge in so many ways because a lot of people said don't do it. There's no money in fitness. If all you'll do is just work for no money. And I hadn't built up a huge saving fund, so there was a big risk that I was going into something and there wasn't a queue of clients ready. So it was a huge risk for me.
I think
But
that
it was
probably resonates as well with our industry because it can be very, very similar in the salon sector and I think we do because we cross slightly, don't we, like wellness and stuff. I think we kind of blend and our worlds kind of converge in places, don't they? So we know we're kind of like a luxury item, aren't we, to a lot of people?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are lots of crossovers between what the industry that I'm in, specifically around stage performance, because it's all image based.
Mm,
Uh, and then there's a very clear touch point with beauty, which is very, very image based. And um, that's one of the things that we'll talk about shortly, I'm sure, around the difference between image and identity. Um, I think that's a key message. Well,
yeah,
ultimately, just to round that one up, I took the leap. Um, it was so hard at first. I was working, I was up at 4 a.m. in the morning, first client at 5, sometimes working till after midnight,
yeah,
getting a few hours sleep, literally, hardly any money coming in, just enough to pay the bills. And then you've got the same scenario that you would have in the beauty industry of, you've got clients booked in all week, then they
yeah,
cancel on you, you know, um, so you had what you thought was money coming in for that week, it then changes because of all these cancellations.
yeah,
Um,
indeed.
and if you're working in a salon, where at the time I was in a gym, that time wasn't given back to me because I was in the gym. It was a slot that was taken out, and then I had to sit in the gym for an hour, um,
Yeah,
and it was lost. Um, you can't shuffle people around because of the appointments are booked in, and so from that sense, being a PT on the gym floor is very similar to being, a salon owner or in a shop or location when clients cancel. So that was a very, very testing time for me, but I pushed through it and got more skills. Obviously, I stayed as a competitive bodybuilder. Um, and the story where I am now from a business perspective is that, over the last 11 or 12 years, I had my first stage client in 2013. And the business just kind of boomed from there, helping people initially to stage. It wasn't just people to stage, I help all people from all ages and have done for decades now, I guess, for all kinds of occasions, just if they want to feel better about themselves, lose weight, feel fitter. It could be for a wedding, it could be for a sports event, could be for stage. it all started off, I guess the skills that I learned were around, specifically around nutrition, what food should people eat, and how to manage food um, for the specific goals of the client, and that could be for strength, for weight loss, for muscle growth, and then skill set around exercise, not just gym exercise. So that's where it kind of that's where the main bulk of my skill set started. But then as I found working with humans, so me as an individual, as I said earlier, my passion is to help people,
Yeah.
help the person, which sounds, the reason why I'm kind of laboring on that and emphasizing it is because the industry now has become, my industry has become less about the person, and more about delivering solutions that can help anybody. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not specific to the individual. And what it's lost is that touch of humanism,
Yeah.
um, which is the reason why I started on it. And that's different to most people are jumping on the bandwagon now to get money. Oh, if I learn how to do this, and use AI tools to generate a nutrition plan, then I can just make lots of money from this. They don't care about the human. And I got into this industry to help the the person themselves. And what I found as I started working with an individual, I could give them a solution around, okay, there's a food plan that's going to help you lose weight. And here's an exercise plan that's going to assist in that goal. But when I was engaging with the person, there's so much more to that than just giving them a diet plan or a training plan. The complexity of every single person's life,
Yeah.
their emotions, their feelings, all these kind of things, their relationships, their jobs, when they get up in the morning, how often they can eat food, how the relationship or the support network is. There's so many other factors that just a diet plan and a training plan don't take on board. So
Yeah.
what, as I was trying to help people, I found that it was more and more around my work with them, the engagement with them as a human, and understanding them, understanding their mindset, understanding how they work and how those solutions can fit in their actual day-to-day lives. That's where I started to grow and really realize what that.
Isn't all that mindset stuff is so important. And I think that, anyone that deals with humans, and I think the thing that kind of unites both of our industries is that human touch, that we are there to make people feel better, and we're there to make them feel more comfortable in their own skins and to make them feel more confident. And I know that so much of what you do is about giving people that kind of purpose and that drive to build their confidence and build their ability to be resilient and all of that. There's so much, isn't there? I think, and that's where we kind of overlap, isn't it? So, and all of the way that you deal with like with your clients, the way you work with your clients is kind of what comes out in the article, isn't it? It's like, I mean, you hit it on the head with everything you wrote in there about the way that we look after ourselves, because we literally are an industry that survives on coffee and some nasty snack that you grab because you've got 5 minutes between clients, and that's where most of our self-care sits, which is very unhealthy. And I know I lived like it for a long time, and I have my salon, and I'm so relieved to not have my salon and actually be able to have lunch now.
Absolutely. I mean, the self-care thing it, it's absolutely the most important thing, um, when it comes down to, if ultimately you are the most important thing, um, and most of us, and myself included, for many, many years, always put everybody else first, and that ultimately will grind you down. It will have negative consequences over time. And the article that I wrote, it it doesn't go into any complicated um, things that aren't achievable. It really just focuses on some very, very simple
Yeah.
things that allow you then to start to put yourself first. And as soon as you start to do that, things improve massively. In my industry and your industry, it's very image based. And this is one of the things that now that I've focused on working with females, I found that particularly with females who are going onto stage, you know, there's a level of confidence I'm building just by them feeling better about how they look. But they'll get on stage, they look amazing, they get all this validation and about image. Oh, you look amazing. But that's an image of somebody, that's not her identity. And the deeper work that I'm doing now is, okay, I can help you look better, which will obviously have benefits. Um, but it's who you are as the person, the identity of yourself, that's the most important thing. Um, and you c- and if I use my industry as the example, you know, for that lady to get on stage, you know, she has to be strict in how she eats. She has to really be controlled, and everything has to go into the stage look to create an image. And now the similarity there in your industry is, you know, the salon owner, they could look like they're being successful, that, you know, their life is amazing, but their identity and who they are, they could be struggling,
Yeah,
dealing with
massively.
depression, stress, relationship problems, all kinds of things, but the image doesn't portray that. And
No.
so the key, I feel my role is to build the identity. Um, the image is a bolt on. If you've got the person feeling strong about themselves, with self-respect and love for themselves, doing things for themselves, and then they can produce an image that they want to, based on their self-love and self respect. That's a completely different thing.
Yeah. I really love that actually, Matt, because I think when you think about, you know, we there's quite often there's a phrase we use of like front of house and back of house and stuff within the salon, because when we walk out front of house, the smile has to go on. You have to be in that persona of successful salon owner or successful business owner. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how I'm going to do your treatment. I know what I'm going to provide for you. I know you're going to look amazing and feel amazing when you leave. And you have to have that outside confidence to be able to deliver that. But quite often behind the scenes, you'll be sitting down the back, rocking in a corner. One, like you say, you know, all of those other things that go on in our lives, whether they're business or personal, relationship, whether you're just having a bad day, you know, someone's been diagnosed with something terrible around you or whatever it might be. And I think it is, isn't it? It's that when you can build that, when you can build it is, and I'd never really sort of thought of it as an identity thing, but it really is. And it's just, if you can build that identity into a stronger human, because that's what you need to be, and to have that ability to be able to cope and manage and not have all those emotional reactions that, especially as women, we do tend to have more of, like, not wishing to stereotype us, but we do tend to. And yeah, that, and because that image then becomes more of a reality, doesn't it? I think for so many people, that image is that fake it till you make it kind of mentality.
Yeah, and you may start off, for anyone starting in the industry, it may seem like you need to do this at first, but what happens is, once you start on that, in that way, it never ends, and that's where you then lose yourself. You lose your identity because it's purely image based, and then that's where you then start. You're so busy, you've got a to-do list. You wake up and you're like, oh my God, I've got to do this. I've got to take the kids to school or whatever. I've got to get this, and then I've got to get to my first client, and then it's the coffee drink, and then you're losing you in the process. And the longer this goes on for,
Yeah.
there'll come a time when you go, like you said, um the 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 the, the face to the clients is, it's almost a mask, and
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
when the mask's taken off, you're like, oh my God, and you can break down, and you start crying, because the difference, the gulf between the image or the mask and who you are becoming or who you've lost is huge.
Yeah. I know, I do. I love that. And I think it's such a, and as much as, the people that you help, that you help to get to the stage are very, very different to the people, for all intents and purposes, they're very, very different to the people like salon owners and stuff that you may be able to help, or business owners. But ultimately, we're all human, aren't we? And whether that image is the image of you being on a stage, with muscles toned and developed, and all of that lovely spray tan that
Yeah.
we can all help with, of course. I know, I was looking at you. You look so white today from when I've seen you previously. I'm sure last time I see you, you must have just come off a competition. You were still quite radiantly glowing. But I do think there's so many crossovers, because we are all human, aren't we, at the end of the day? And what you do, so what it is that you do is you help people with nutrition, you help people with mindset and focus and all that kind of stuff, don't you? And that's why, having you writing this piece is just gives people a slightly maybe a realization that we aren't alone in our industry. And that's why I kind of have this, I like this feature.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and the real key here is, and this is where people get it wrong, particularly if they want to. So they'll go, I want to look after myself, and I'll get a PT. Right, I want to lose weight. I'll get a PT. They think that that's the solution. It's not. Yeah, it's not the solution. I want to lose weight. I want to feel better about myself, so I'll go on a diet. Um, you know, that they're things that they're, I guess, part of the solution. If you want to lose weight, then there's some things that you do need to do. Possibly a new nutrition plan, some exercise, but it all has to be structured around you and the person.
Yeah.
But they're kind of surface level things. You can now just go on ChatGPT, and you could say, I'm a 40-year-old lady. I've got an active life. I've got 3 children. I don't have much time to train. Blah 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 blah. I want to lose weight. I'm this blah blah blah. Please create me a diet plan. And ChatGPT will create you a diet plan just like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you then said, please, can you create me a training plan? I want to go to the gym 3 times a week. Blah blah blah. It'll give you the solution to what you've asked. But that isn't looking at you as a human being. That isn't working with you.
No.
So this is what I'm saying. The solutions now are out there, and this is what people. You can get it for free, like I just said, from ChatGPT, or you can get a cookie cutter plan from someone and with cheap things, at £20. Can you do me a diet plan? There you go. The overall solution is understanding you as a person, of the reason why you want to do this.
Yeah. And how you got to that place in the first place of needing to make that change.
So that's so important. When I take on a new client, that's one of the questions I ask them. How did you get in this place?
Yeah. What changed?
Yeah, what's changed, and what are your reasons why? And in my world, when someone comes to me and said, I want to get on stage, that's a big challenge. So why do you want to do that? And a lot of them, will say they just want to feel better about themselves. But if you really prod a little bit deeper or work with them longer, you'll find that the reason why is much, much deeper. And it's more about themselves, that they're trying to achieve something that they think that will fix, and it often won't. The image is not what needs fixing. It's the person that needs fixing. And I try to bridge that gap without being. People don't want to open up on day one, they often don't even understand their reason why anyway.
No, indeed. I think as well, though, you struck on a point earlier of what this all comes down to for so many of us, and it is as humans, no matter what it is that you're trying to achieve, is that mainly we want validation without judgment, kind of thing. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to, isn't it? We want people to recognize us as having done well. We want people to recognize us as achieving and doing something good. And I think that, so like, you know, and being on stage and being that, you know, the perfectly honed human with, I mean, I love the muscle definitions and stuff. I just see it like, just, you know, I'd love to, well, I do know how you do it, kind of, obviously not the detail, but I know the overarching way that you do it. But to me, it's just like the detail that you see on those people on stage is just mad, because it's human taken to the nth degree, isn't it? And you've got to be able to push yourself to that place. I think maybe some people don't understand the immenseness of what that task is.
Yeah, and if you can understand the immenseness of that and what you just said about validation, if you don't work with that person and understand the deeper reasons for them doing that, what you're doing is setting them up for a really dangerous position.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, and this is very, very common, and if it's not managed properly, you know, they put so much into this, to the degree where friendships end and break because they're so focused on what they do. They can't socialize with friends. It often means that those relationships break down. Even marriages and long-term relationships can break down because the partners don't support them in what they're doing, because they can't understand, you know, the physical effort required, the dedication of resisting hunger. It isn't easy. It's a very, very challenging thing to do. And like you said, you almost like, oh, it's amazing. You were almost feeding that validation loop for that
Yeah.
person. And
Yeah.
what happens when that person gets on stage, if all you've done is give them solutions to get there and make them look good, they'll get on stage, they'll feel amazing, they'll have this massive, "Oh, I'm so proud of myself," all this external validation from people. Then the next day, it's gone, over.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. And then you're just
and,
in a perpetual cycle, aren't you, trying to feed the monster?
and it's a very, very dangerous place to be,
Yeah.
particularly as well, because you've now put yourself in a physically unhealthy way. It's not healthy for some categories to get into that condition. You know, to take a woman's body fat percentage below a certain degree, that can have a very detrimental effect on hormones and
Yeah.
long-term health, fertility. Um, it affects women massively. So there's another danger in the
Yeah.
sport. But when they've been on show, they often have this, because they can't control the hunger any longer. They haven't got this goal anymore. They then eat more food, and they then put on even more weight than when they started, and then
Yeah.
that's a whammy. Um, and that, so the sport has, my industry, I feel, because of social media, because of the people jumping on board that don't care about the humans, because they just give them solutions to get there, we're creating lots of damaged people. That
Yeah.
it's nice to be validated for a day, but the identity of that person is still there. What's happened to them? The validation goes. They've lost all this kind of feel good thing. Then they
Yeah.
wonder, and it's a very, very dangerous sport to be in if it's not managed. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about really working on them as a human, supporting them all the way, telling them the pitfalls of what will happen, supporting them post the show, making sure that they understand any risks if they want, you know, do they want to push themselves to that point? Um, you know, or do they want to stay a healthier, less risky position? It's trying to work out exactly what they
Yeah,
want to do and
absolutely.
support
And
them.
I think it goes the same, doesn't it? Whether it's like for stage or in business, is that, you know, we can push ourselves to be, you know, the biggest, sparkliest salon on the high street, or the best home salon, because I mean, we have so many home salons now, which comes with its own pressures. But that whole drive to be seen, to be successful, is a, you know, they run parallel, don't they? And I think it runs parallel through your industry, through our industry, through, I mean, even like, you know, like you were saying, like when you did IT, you have those things to prove, don't you? And you have to stand out in the crowd and make yourself be something that may not like align with your true identity, so that you fit the box, kind of thing. And you have that mask and that image out there that really isn't always what it's cracked up to be.
And no, it's the misalignment of
Yeah,
your image and who you are as a person. That's
yeah,
the difference. And it's,
yeah,
in order to be successful, happy, and healthy, you need to be aligned in that. And that
yeah,
comes from self-respect and self-love and self-care. It
yeah,
starts there. And if you start from that position, um, that's where you will go down the right path. And if you don't start
absolutely.
in that position, that's where I come in and try to help you pull back into self-respect, self-care, and still be able to be successful. And then the image and the identity then become aligned. They
Yeah,
become congruent is the word that I would use. Um,
yeah,
because how many people say, you'll probably see a friend or someone that you know, and on social media, they're like, the, you know, hi, it's the most amazing day I've ever had, and then
yeah,
you see them an hour later, and they're going, oh my God, my life sucks. It's so bad, and it they've got this such a contrast
yeah,
between what they're showing and what the reality is, and what we really need to do is bring them together,
yeah,
uh, and everybody needs to do this. And make social media and our images and our identity the truth, the real
yeah.
truth,
Authenticity, isn't it? And
authentic.
I do think, with all the AI and everything, I'm now seeing so many people making real points to show the humanity of their videos and the humanity of their presence and who they are. And I
Yeah,
think that that's a really, really important thing that we can all take forward.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we should probably leave it there for today, Matt, because we've been chatting for quite a while. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing a bit about your life and a little about who you are and what you do. And I do, and I love that whole thing of like the image and the identity. I think it's kind of, yeah, something for people to take away massively, and just maybe just go and have a think about how well yours do align.
Yeah, absolutely. And, thank you for having me on.